Hi viewers, welcome to our YouTube channel PowerU Act, before our PowerU Act Aficionado Achievers series. Please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
In this video, we'll talk about living with your decisions. We've already considered why making decisions quickly is the key to success. We've also examined the process by which you can begin making choices more effectively and speedily. However, we haven't fully covered the final part of the process, living with the decision that you make. Whatever your decision, there will be a finite outcome. This may or may not be the one you expected. Sometimes things turned out in the way that you hoped. That's always the best case scenario. Usually when you make a decision that achieves the outcome you desire, you probably don't think too much about it. Yet when you make a poor decision that achieves a result that is far from what you expected and hoped for, it's only natural to regret the choice that you made. When you feel as if you made a bad decision, it can be hard to accept. We've already looked at how you can approach the situation when you make a choice that turns out to be an unwise one. But it can still be difficult to come to terms with the idea that the choice you made didn't turn out for the best. Although it's never going to be easy to live with your decisions, especially when you make your life harder in the end, or when things don't turn out the way you wanted, it's important to work on this aspect of decision making. So how can you learn to accept the outcome of your decisions? Here are some top tips. Don't cry over spilled milk. Everyone is familiar with the old adage, don't cry over spilled milk. We've all heard it before. However, it's hard to take it on board in practice. When things go wrong, it's a natural human reaction to regret the decision that has brought us there in the first place. We effectively cry over spilled milk. However, we also know that we cannot put it back in the bottle. So, there is no point in crying over it. The key is to move on past the mistake that you've made. You may have made a decision that caused the spillage, but that doesn't mean you have to wallow in it. Let go of the error in judgment. We all make mistakes. After all, we're all human. Don't judge yourself too harshly for the poor decision. Acknowledge that the milk is spilled, that the outcome hasn't been what you hoped. Once you've acknowledged and realized this, let go of the negative emotions that are associated with that realization. Consider what you did to get yourself in this position in the first place. Where did you go wrong with the decision-making process? Was it a failure to take the facts into account? Did you take an impulsive risk? Did you use the information to add to your confirmation bias? Whatever the reason for the error, learn from it so that you can avoid making the same mistake twice. Sometimes it won't be anything you did that made it a poor decision. Sometimes bad things just happen. Judging yourself harshly in such situations is pointless and will only paralyze you and prevent you from making decisions in the future. Move on to the next choice you have to make without regret, and you'll be in the best place to succeed next time in achieving your desired outcome. Avoiding sunk cost influence. Sunk cost influence is a phenomenon that we're all familiar with and that we've all fallen prey to from time to time. While you may not know it by this name, it's a common feature in all our lives. Imagine, for example, that you're dining at a fancy restaurant and the food is amazing. You can't resist eating more than you should. In fact, you eat so much you're starting to feel sick. While you know you shouldn't eat dessert because you're so full, instead, you're compelled to carry on eating, choking down the sweet treat even though each bite makes you feel more nauseous. Or another common example, in your closet you have an outdated dress or suit that doesn't fit anymore. It's taking up space you need for your other clothes, but you still can't cope with the idea of giving it to Goodwill because it costs you a lot of money, and you've only worn it once. Both of these familiar scenarios are examples of sunk cost fallacy. Why does this phenomenon occur? The reason is that the more we invest in something, whether that be in terms of time, money, or emotion investment, the more committed we are towards that thing. We've all stayed friends with someone who is toxic because they've been around for years, and we've all persevered with a book that's incredibly dull because we've been trying to get through it for months. Cutting losses is a difficult thing for any of us to do. No one is immune to sunk cost fallacy. Even governments have been known to fall prey to it. For example, during the 1970s, the French and British governments continued to invest heavily in Concorde jets, even when they began to realize for certain that developing this aircraft would never be economically justifiable. It's a common problem among stock traders too, as they carry on holding on to shares even when their price is plummeting simply because they've been holding on to them for years. How can you avoid allowing sunk cost fallacy to influence your decision-making process? The key is to tell yourself that what is in the past is gone. There's nothing you can do to change it. The money, time, and emotional investment you've made is lost, and there's nothing you can do to get it back. Everyone hates losses. However, the wise solution is to decide the time has come to stop wasting more money, time, or emotions. Chasing losses is always a mistake in any part of your life, from gambling to relationships to employment. If you're throwing good money or the equivalent after bad, it's time to think long and hard about whether it's something that's really worth pursuing further. There's one question to ask yourself to help avoid falling victim to this phenomenon. If you start to think that you wish you'd never begun the project, it's almost certainly a poor idea to carry on pursuing it. Embracing the status quo and moving on. The final thing to bear in mind when it comes to living with the results of the decisions you make is to embrace the status quo. Essentially, this is the final step, and also the only really effective way to ensure you can cope with the outcome of your choices. Embracing the way that things are in any given moment is the best way of moving on in a positive and efficient way. The status quo may not be what you wanted, and it may not be ideal, but it's the way things are. Of course, just because it's the only true way to avoid the crippling paralysis of not wanting to make a decision for fear of upsetting the proverbial apple cart doesn't mean that it's easy to embrace the status quo. It involves letting go of the negative emotions that surround your choices. Begin by looking objectively at the situation. Acknowledge the problems and the negatives, but without judging them harshly. Accept the things that went wrong and those that went right. Don't allow yourself to experience guilt, fear, anger, or pain. Simply acknowledge that those things occurred. Once you've accepted that those things occurred, let go of them. Allow them to fade away. You cannot change what has happened, so the only thing to do is to move on. Never allow the poor decisions of your past to prevent you from making a decision in the future. Just because something went wrong once doesn't mean it will automatically fail to achieve the desired result next time. Stay positive, and positive things will come to you.
Please comment, and let us know your opinion on the topic for our next video. We are done for today. See you again soon. Thank you.